we're looking at a sort of scenario, even like a petri dish, where a lot of conditions are put in place so that there could be an AI takeover of the planet. And while people were locked in their homes, there was a lot of escalation of putting AI, for example, we have evidence in schools, so that
Right.
when the children go back to school, they're going to be faced with this. And on top of it is the vaccines, the impending reality that they are racing to get these so-called vaccines out there that would then include what they call smart dust. And I have this from also whistleblowers' testimony back channel, because not only do I get information, that I bring public, but I also have sources that communicate with me over the years back channel. And so what I've been told is this nano smart dust will contain what is in essence a bioluminescent chipping
Mm-hmm.
that will really it will take over your entire body, so that you will become uh, part and parcel of the AI
Right.
when you receive it. And so this is a scenario we're kind of basically looking at right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you, I mean, it seems to me, my experience is that the mind control aspect of AI has really ramped up in the past couple months. What do you think? What's your kind of take on this?
Absolutely. Now, this is something that I talked about early on when the COVID first was rolled out, because as I was saying, your body has a reaction that's physical to the amping up of the radiation and the electromagnetic sort of spectrum that we're living in, and even 4G is, will expose you to some of this radiation as well. So what happens, that means your cell phone, et cetera, that
Right.
you're carrying around. Um, so that on top of that, there is the mental piece, the propaganda piece, which is even more, um, in some ways, even more powerful in influencing humans to take this stuff on.
Right.
So they basically could take over the earth simply through programming, through the news media constantly beating home a certain message that has to do with the fact that humans, you can get infected by humans are bad, human contact is bad, cover your face, cover your nose, cover your mouth, shut up, go in your houses, stay stationary. And they're also breaking up the human resonance, the natural resonance that we have, that connects us
Right.
and makes us strong. For example, you're doing a virtual festival, and
Yeah.
there will be a connection that we will be creating right now, a field of resonance based on what I'm saying, and this is the power that we have. This is our natural Kundalini activating.
Yeah.
Chi is what the Chinese use to speak about it. Wilhelm Reich called it orgone,
Mm.
and for people that are uh, not familiar, and the Germans called it Vril, by the way. And I
Mm.
do talk about this in my book, because nobody has actually linked those terms together to understand that they're all talking about the same thing.
Right.
And this field of resonance and our abilities, when put together, when unified, is, could take down any negative influence or whatever. And it also can heal us,
Yeah.
so that what they are doing in convincing you that you can get infected by another human being, and therefore you want to keep them at a distance, is actually going right to the source of what they want to achieve. And it's absolutely, wrong. And so this is the propaganda side of it, and
Yeah.
this is where where they are very, very strong. And they learned after Nazi Germany that they couldn't actually, they weren't as it wouldn't be as successful unless they got the hearts and minds of humans on board with whatever they're doing. And so there's that saying that says, when humanity believes everything they believe is false, we will have achieved our ends. And I can't remember if it's Rockefeller who said
Yeah.
that, but this is the type of thing we're looking at.
Yeah.
So, what's really important at this time and why any of this matters is understanding to see through the propaganda, to see through the constant mind control that's being really, a lot of people, I don't talk a lot about this normally, but I will say in this setting that I don't, for those of you out there, when they keep showing you this COVID type of molecule, when they show you images of sickness, what
Yeah.
they're doing is subliminally programming you to accept the sickness,
It's
to
MK Ultra. I mean,
on board.
don't you think it's a version of MK
It is.
Ultra?
It's all goes back to MK Ultra,
Yeah.
and even before that to the Nazi mind control, and
Yeah.
before that to mind control techniques that were created in Atlantis and Egypt, and various societies since then. So.
So I just want to, quickly turn towards QAnon. What's your, where's that whole narrative hitting you?
Okay, well, I've said this even recently in an interview, but I, I have a very strong feeling of resonance with JFK Jr.
Yeah.
And I had heard, obviously, QAnon talks about JFK Jr. is behind the idea of QAnon, that he, created George Magazine before he supposedly was killed in the airline, in the flight that he and Caroline and her sister, her twin, was also on board, I believe,
Yeah.
and they were all supposed to have been killed. Now, there are things Trump is doing, like taking down the pedophile network, taking down the Pope and the Queen, and all of this whole Illuminati, this whole sort of power structure
Yeah.
is what he and his team and JFK Jr. are, in theory, working to take down. But they haven't actually made official statements yet about what I call their wins, the things they've actually achieved.
Yeah.
Most of what they're doing is dealing in underground bases, uh, small wars in underground bases. They're also supposedly arresting Hollywood pedophiles and so on. But none of this has been announced officially yet. My understanding is around July 19th that they will be coming forward. This is what QAnon has said, to actually, out what they've been doing. And I think that would, of course, turn the tide of history if, in fact, it can be proven what they have been involved in. I believe they're fighting a very difficult enemy. I think that people don't understand what goes on here on Earth when we're fighting the negative and the positive. How wars have to be conducted in a certain way so that the planet doesn't become destroyed, and
Right.
basically both sides destroy each other. So this is what both sides are cognizant of, and the fact that these things have to be handled by negotiation. Deals have to be made. Certain protocols have to be followed, and so on. All of this is the basis for QAnon. There's reason to believe that this has been a very stealthy, being the son of JFK, knowing that they were wanting to kill him, that he may have staged his own death, and in fact he did, and basically realized that he had to go underground in order to achieve his objectives, and that his lifelong objective is to basically um, uh, achieve the things that his father, to carry the legacy on that his father was trying to achieve when he was taken down. So this is a very dedicated man, as you can appreciate, and
Yeah.
all I can tell you is it resonates with me. So the information, though, will have to come to the fore. We'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see how it plays out. That includes things like the vaccine. There's a fly here. there's a vaccine, that Trump is supposedly, he's he's playing a lot of games on
Hmm.
stage. He's bringing people on side that are, the saying, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
Right.
He's operating using what they call game theory, what I would call art of war, as you may be
Yes.
familiar with
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
famous book, and so on and so forth. So over time, this group of people who have begun, he's very much backed by a division of the military who began to see that this cabal, as we call them, had taken over every aspect of life in America. And going back to paperclip, that, the Nazis didn't really lose the war. They simply moved out of Germany and into Antarctica, Argentina, the United States, a bit in Russia, and certain other places around the planet.